Egyptian people who have decided what the future should be like. As a matter of fact, as an Egyptian person, the speech of Hosni Mubarak yesterday was very disappointing.
Yes.
That man is an evil man.
Yes.
That man wants to turn the Egyptian people against one another.
Yes.
That man wants to set Egypt in fire. That man has no love at all for his own country. That man has no patriotism at all.
He's arrogant.
That man, he's just an arrogant person. You are absolutely right. And he doesn't care about the Egyptian people. If he really cares about them, he should have left them to decide their own future.
They have
Egypt,
they have decided.
I, as an Egyptian person, I think he was so stingy that he didn't want to give a chance to the Egyptian people to enjoy last night. He didn't want us to be happy. He just wants to turn our life into hell. He doesn't want to let go without destroying our own country. That man is conspiring one last time against his own people.
Yes.
I say to certainty, that man is betraying his own people once and the last time. Yesterday, all the Egyptian people waited for him to say that I'm stepping down and I'm giving Egypt back to the Egyptian people. But that man, because of his arrogance, because of his lack of sincerity, because of his lack of care, decided once more to challenge all the Egyptian people, to challenge the feelings of the Egyptian people. And we want to say to Hosni Mubarak from here, from Dublin, this is your last chance. You have no chance in our life. We don't want you among us again. You better leave the country or you will end up being prosecuted in Egypt.
Should be.
This will be the end of your tyranny and the end of your subjugation and terrorizing of the Egyptian people.
Yes.
Yes.
That's Marlowe again. Yeah.
It's not only the Egyptian people who are waiting for the decision of that dictator to go. The whole world indeed is waiting for that tyrant to go. Our life will be a lot better without that dictator who has sold his own country and sold other countries as well, like Iraq, like Palestine, for those who hate us, those who want to know our life for us, those who have no sympathy for us. That person is a very clear example of dictatorship. I don't believe that in the modern history we've seen a dictator as bold and as rude and as deceptive as that particular man. After a very long time, we've been beseeching him for 30 years to introduce a change, and now he's trying to deceive us once again. He's telling us that he has to himself supervise the change in Egypt. We don't want any supervision from a person who has persecuted us, who has imprisoned us, and who has killed us during 30 years. That man brought misery to the life of the Egyptian people. That man, a lot of people died of sickness because of lack of medical care. A lot of very intelligent, very bright people had no life whatsoever because of his selfishness, because of his corruption. A lot of people, if you look at the situation of education in Egypt, look at the medical care standard in Egypt, look at every aspect of the life of the Egyptian people have been destroyed by that brutal dictator. I don't believe at all, I doubt that he has any atoms of love or sincerity or loyalty to the Egyptian people. He's just loyal to his masters in Israel and masters in America.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Marlowe again.
He has made himself a servant of America and wanted not only the Egyptians but all the Arab people servants to the Americans and to the Israelis. I believe that as Egyptians who are very capable of building a democratic Egypt that the whole world will be proud of. We want to share the Western people, make our own lives more prosperous and more enjoyable. We don't want very few people to live at the expense of a majority of people. We want everybody to have a fair chance of living a life of dignity and a life of honor and a life of freedom. We want freedom for the Egyptian people. I'm telling the Irish people who are standing around me today, we have no freedom of expression in our country. We have no freedom of movement. We have no freedom of assembly. Every basic human right is being violated by that dictatorship. It has been violated, and up until this moment, he's violating all the basic human needs and the human aspirations. That man is just an utter dictator. That man is just an utter another
criminal.
Traitor of his own people.
You're right. Traitor
This
of
is the-
Semites, traitor of Arabs.
Traitor of Arabs and you know. Yeah.
He cannot be trusted to do the transition.
No, we are not expecting any good to come from that particular man.
Cannot
We
be
want,
trusted.
you know, this is my own feeling and the feeling of 99% of the Egyptian people. They just want him to go.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Western world are not doing enough
Yes.
to help the Egyptian people live a life of dignity and live a life of freedom. They always teach us, you know, about basic human rights, freedom, but they are the first ones to keep quiet about them when it goes against their own interests. This is the kind of hypocrisy we've been seeing all along. When it has to do with other people, especially the Arabs and Muslims, we've seen that the Western world have let us down. And by the way, they are not just damaging us, they are damaging themselves. Because I believe that democracy, freedom, respect, dignity, all of these great values are good for all of us. I can say it loud here in Dublin that the real cause of terrorism is not Islamic extremists, you know, as they call it. It is tyranny. It is dictatorship.
Yeah.
It is exploitation.
Very true.
That is the real cause of those who've been telling lies. Those have been telling lies about terrorism and the real need to fight, you know, terrorists. They are themselves the ones who have made terrorism.
Yes.
They are the creator of terrorism.
You're right. Yes. Absolutely.
Very good.
You know, a lot of innocent people, you know, with very basic demands have been made terrorists because they wanted to stand against real terrorism and against tyranny and against oppression.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
This is the reality of the situation. But that situation is going to change, and the Egyptian people are very capable of introducing that change. Our country, we will never take any step back until when our country is sovereign in the full sense of the word. We want an Egypt that decides its future. We want an Egypt that not only help its own people, but even help all of those who live in tyranny and dictatorship all around the world. Egypt is a great country, and if Egypt is free, I believe we will have more peace and more security and more prosperity all over the region.
Yes.
This is the reality of it. And I believe that if democracy is brought to Egypt, if freedom is brought to Egypt, we will see a very quick solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
Yeah. Bloody right. Oh.
I want to say clear here that the Egyptians, we are not against the Jews. Our religion taught us, you know, since the very first day, that we have to respect every person of other religions. Jews, Christians, and Muslims, they lived in peace together for centuries. You know, that kind of racism, you know, that we are seeing nowadays is the creation of very evil and very destructive people. It's not Islam. We can live together in peace and we can continue to respect one another because we are all human beings after all. We are all brothers and sisters in the full sense of that word. Religion is a private and individual issue, and it doesn't have to be a reason for hatred or for transgression. It's a time for the whole world to wake up. Let's help, you know, those who live in tyranny. Let's help those who live under repression. We have a lot of countries we have a lot of leaders. We have people in the ex-Soviet Union. We have some presidents who are acting like dictators. They are enslaving their own people. We want freedom not only for Egypt, but for every single country and nation. We want people to enjoy the kind of freedom we are enjoying here in Ireland. We've been living in Ireland. You know, freedom didn't spoil us. We respect, you know, our Irish brothers and sisters, we wish well and good for that country, and we want our own sons and daughters to contribute to the prosperity of that society. Muslims, a true Muslim person can never be a cause of any violence or of any evil. A true Muslim person is one who helps towards good and helps towards prosperity and helps towards freedom. This is what our religion teaches us. It doesn't teach us, that we take that which is not our right. It doesn't teach us, to terrorize people. It doesn't teach us to betray other people. It doesn't teach us, to disrespect other people. On the contrary, it teaches us, respect. It teaches us, that dignity must be guaranteed for every single individual, no matter, what sort of ideology he has. No matter what religion he has, no matter what color what skin color he has. All sorts of racism. I don't know where it came from. We don't have that at all in our countries. In a Muslim country, it doesn't matter if you are black or white. It doesn't matter if you are Muslim or a Jew or a Christian. Muslims and Christians in Egypt lived in peace and prosperity together for a long time. The sort of problems we have seen recently is because of that regime. That regime is a primary cause of any kind of dissension or of any kind of tension that's existing now between Muslims and Christians in Egypt. There is no policeman observing the streets now, and we haven't seen any act of terror in Egypt. We didn't see any Egyptian Muslim turning against his Christian brother. I think it's all plots against. It's a plot against the Egyptian people, because they want to divide the people. This is the only way they can rule us and they can subjugate us. They want to give the impression that unless they act very very roughly and very harshly, the Egyptians will be spoiled and they will be very destructive to themselves and to everybody around them, and that's totally false. We are a people who love peace, and we are people who love democracy, and we are people who love that every single human individual, every single human being should live in dignity and should have a fair chance to make his own dreams come true. جزاكم الله خيرا وشكرا وبارك الله فيكم. شكرا جزيلا.